Hello everyone, my name is Jason. I'm a level 2 judge from British Columbia, Canada, and today we're going to be talking about the June 1st slash 4th or 5th band update and change to Companion. So what I'd like to do is start with the Companion update and talk about the changes with it. So how Companion used to work, for anybody who might not know, is you would start with your Companion in your sideboard, and if you met a deck constraint, such as for Gigan or Gyruda Doom of Depth, your starting deck could only contain cards with an even converted mana cost. If your deck had only cards with even converted mana cost, you could cast it from your sideboard once per game, um, and yeah, then it would become part of the game. Now, however, that's changing. Now, once per game, you may spend 3 generic mana to move your companion from your sideboard to your hand. You can only use this whenever you could cast a sorcery, so when the stack is empty and when you have priority. Um, and to note there, about this, it's going to your hand. It costs you 3 mana as a sorcery, so that's fine. Um, Now that we kind of know what the new companion rule is, let's take a quick look at how that's going to affect some of these companions. Um, I think personally, and from what I've talked to other people who know much more than I do about the competitive aspect of this, is it's going to really affect the aggressive companions. Companions like Lurish and Obosh and Umori and Kairuga, those cards are going to be affected a lot more than say Yorion, which probably doesn't get hit at all. Um, Having to take a turn off to put Obosh into your hand and telegraph that that's what you plan to do next turn is a lot for the mono red or the mono black decks to handle, and I just don't think it's worth it anymore to have that kind of restriction, because you have 3 or 4 creatures in play, and on your turn 4 you spend 3 mana to put Obosh into your hand. Well, now your opponent untaps Wrath 2 and you're stuck with a 5-drop in your hand that doesn't do anything to turn it into this battlefield. Um, Lurrus is. I just don't think you want to spend 6 mana for what Lurrus does when your deck is geared towards a lower casting cost permanent. Um, so trying to spend 3, even over 2 turns, I don't think spending 6 mana on Lurrus is worth it. The other one that got a really big hit here was Garuda. Um, Yeah, I mean, in standard, the Garuda deck kind of fell apart, and Pioneer doesn't really do anything. Modern is a little more open, but it wasn't that great there either. Where Garuda shined was in Legacy, where you would go turn 1, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond, crack them both, discard your hand, cast Garuda, win the game. Um, there was very few times that you weren't winning the game the turn you cast Garuda in Legacy. Now you need 9 mana to cast Garuda. So you're like Ancient Tomb, City of Traders into Chrome Mox into LED, and that's just not something that's feasible. And I firmly believe that this rule change to Companion is going to more or less kill Companion. I don't think you're going to see them. Maybe Kahira still gets played in the control decks because they don't mind taking a turn off to put Kahira in their hand and then cast it. One other quick note about this change to Companion is that it's not an activated ability. This is a special action. This action doesn't use a stack, can't be responded to, and it can't be stopped by abilities like Pithing Needle or Sorcerer's Spyglass. The last thing I want to talk about this update with Companion is Yorion Sky Nomad. whether it's Bant or Jeskai or Grixis or whatever version of Yorion you want to run, I feel firmly that Yorion isn't going to be overly affected by this because the decks that play Yorion want to get to turn 8, 9, 10, where that's when you're typically casting Yorion. Maybe it's a couple turns earlier if you're playing the Bant deck and you're ramping really hard with it, and that's great. But typically you're waiting until you have 8, 9 mana to cast the Yorion, and well, that doesn't matter at that point, right? Because you're just like, hey, look, here's I spend 3 mana, put my hand, cast my 4/5, blink my stuff, and away you go the way that we have been. I think there's bigger things that happen to the Yorion decks. I don't know if this change is enough to take Yorion away, but I think that the other changes that we're going to talk about affect the Yorion decks more, and we'll see. So at the end of the video, we're going to talk about what I think is actually going to happen to the standard metagame. I don't know enough about historic, but I do know about standards, and I've talked to people about standards. So we're going to talk about what I think at the end of the video. But let's move on to the next thing, and that was cards that were banned. So what got banned, do you ask? Well, let's start here. Let's start with Fires of Invention. Okay, so Fires of Invention is a 3 and a red enchantment from Throne of Eldraine. It says you can only cast 2 spells, and each turn you can only cast 2 spells, and you can only cast them during your turn. You may cast spells with temporary mana cost less or equal to the number of lands you control without paying the mana cost. This card was banned, and with good reason. Well, is it good reason? That's a good question. Some people are like, yes, ban it, has to go. Other people are like, I don't know if this card should be banned. I think I understand why they banned Fires of Invention. And I don't think it was because of the 55% win rate that it was touting. I think what it was is with the changes to Companion, if you don't ban Fires of Invention, you're spending 3 mana for your Companion instead of 3 plus whatever their converted mana cost is. So I think what would have happened, maybe not right away, but down the line, what would have happened is players would have started just building whatever the Companion they wanted, except for Luris and Obaj, as a Fires deck. How viable would that have been? I don't know. I can't really tell you. I think it would be interesting to find out if that would have been a viable thing. I think Yorion Fires would definitely still be a deck. I mean, you play Fires on turn 4, you cast something else, like an Omen, and then on turn 5, you can tap your 3 mana, put Yorion into your hand, cast your Yorion, you're still casting Yorion on turn 5. I think that's why Fires is banned, because it gets around that extra restriction of the Companion. So one of the decks I thought about when I was preparing for this video was a Garuda deck running Fires. Maybe Teamer, maybe Grixis. I didn't really had it already figured out, but I was thinking about how could you use Fires as a way of abusing Garuda similarly to the way that we abused Garuda in the Bant deck. So maybe instead of Bant, we go Teamer. We still get all those wonderful rat spells that we had, and then we just get to go Fires of Invention. And if, let's say on turn 5, we have 6 lands in play, we go and a Fires, and we go Garuda from the Companion Zone. Then we flip over our deck for a couple, we do a couple things, and we brick. It's like, oh no, and usually that's the end of it, right? But it doesn't have to be if you have the Spark Double or the Charming Prince or the Thoughts. If you have that card in your hand, well, instead of spending 6 mana to cast the Garuda, you're casting it for free, or even spending 3 mana, and then you're casting the spell you need to continue your combo chain. I kind of wish I'd thought of this when we were first playing the Garuda decks. This would have been interesting to be able to try. Maybe what I'll do is I'll try it in paper against some friends who are willing to let me play fires in a standard deck. See what they think. See if the deck might have been viable. I'll get back to you with more on that on my testing. See if maybe that's the reason why they went to ban. Because I don't think Karuga Fires, for one, was powerful enough with the change to Karuga by itself to ban Fires of Invention. I honestly think what happened is they didn't want um, all the companion decks to become Fires decks to get around that restriction. So, good ban, bad ban. I think overall it's a good ban. I think I would have liked to see them give it a month and see what happens, especially if we have core 20. Maybe there's an answer in core 20 to fires that would be good, that we could have used to fight the deck as a whole. But yeah, I think they should give us a month, but overall, I think in time we're going to see that this was a good ban. Alright, so what was the other card that was banned? Well, the other card, and if you know me at all, or have talked to me at all, whoopsie, that's not what I wanted to do, there we go. If you know me at all, you talked to me at all about this, you know that when I saw that announcement on Monday, that they had banned Age of Treachery, I did a happy dance. I did the 360 victory spin, right? I was happy, things were great. This card's finally gone. It's been a blight on standard. There's been a lot of people I know, a lot of predominant players I know who were begging for Watt to do something about this weeks ago. And it's gone. And were there ways they could have fixed Age of Treachery? Not with the way we currently handle cards, but in the design of this card, I think you could have done a lot to fix it. It could have been a cast trigger instead of enter the battlefield trigger. I think that would have been fine. I think if it was until Agent of Treachery leaves the battlefield, I think that would have worked, because then that stops you from gaining multiple permanents with a single agent by just blinking it or bouncing it to your hand and recasting it, and those kinds of effects are really what pushed this card over the edge. By itself, when this card was first released, I think it was a nice way for the ramp decks to kind of fight each other. It was a nice payoff. I pay my 10/10 Hydroid Crisis, haha. And you're like, sweet, I'll play Age of Treachery, steal your Hydroid Crisis. Cool, right? Or you Age of Treachery Anissa, or, it wasn't the, like, turn 4, turn 5. In some cases, I've seen it turn 3 out of the Winota decks. You just go turn 3 Age of Treachery, steal your land, the game is over, right? And I'm really surprised that this didn't say target non-land permanent. Wizards just kind of got out of their way to really let us know that it's not okay for you to be affecting your opponent's land. That's why we haven't seen cards like Stone Rain or Pillage or Annex. Annex, for those of you who don't know, is a 2/2 blue enchantment that you can control an enchanted land. Has a duration on it, so if you disenchant the Annex, you get your land back. I think if it had something along those lines, either make it a cast trigger, make the ability have a duration, I think the card would have been fine. I mean, I know they tried to push it. It's a 2/3 7-mana card. That's fine. It's already done everything it's going to do once it enters the battlefield and steals your permanent, even if I kill it. So I think overall, I'm very happy Agent of Treachery is gone. I have resolved an Agent of Treachery against a player, and I stole their land, and the game ended on the spot. I felt terrible. Like, it doesn't feel good to win that way. I know players did it because it was the best deck in the format. Just like Luca, right? It was the best deck in the format. And so you play the best deck when you're grinding the ladder, you're trying to, get that big win or whatever. So, I am just very thankful Age of Treachery is gone, and it can stay gone forever. Alright. So real quick, let's talk about what I think Standard is gonna look like. you get to see my decks and all their wonderful glory. Some of them I'm still missing cards for, but that's whatever. Don't worry about that. So where do I think the format goes from here? Well, I think cycling remains a deck. I think it's gonna be a very good deck. Not much changes in it, whether you have Luris or you don't have a Music Companion. I think the cycling deck sees enough lands because it draws so many cards that you don't mind having Luris as your companion still. It's kind of a telegraph that that's the deck you're playing, but I think it's okay. It lets you grind. If the Luris decks are going to pull away from cycling decks are going to pull away from Luris, I don't think much in those deck changes. I've been kind of toying with an idea with playing Yadara Wandering Monster. Um, However, whether or not that's right, I'm not sure. It's a 2 mana cycler versus having another 1 mana cycler in the deck. I just like putting an 8/8 haste into play for 2 mana. I think it's free. So cycling is definitely gonna be a deck. Team Adventures is gonna be a deck. I think it's actually gonna be relatively good. I think it's gonna be good to play. I don't see any reason why it should fall off the map. I think it's got decent game against a lot of decks, and I think that's kind of where you want to be. I think decks like Team of Reclamation are gonna be very good. I see like Bant Yorion is probably gonna stick around and be a deck that you wanna, you know, champion in there, and it's gonna be the control deck of choice, I think. And some fringe decks that could be interesting. I think Heroic could be an interesting deck to play. It's not great. Like it's really weak to the sacrifice decks, so unless the sacrifice decks fall off a bit, it's probably not where you want to be. John Sacrifice is another deck I really like. It doesn't lose anything from these bans. It has everything to gain. It's one of its worst matchups get a lot better, and which is the Just Guy Luca decks was really bad for the sacrifice decks. So I think that um, the bannings help the Jund deck a lot. A deck that I'm going to be working on, or 2 decks I'm going to be working on, is a blue-black control list and a Grixis. Grixis mid-range, Grixis control list. I think both of them have, maybe there's a line, maybe an area of metagame that can slip into and kind of hold their own. I'm not sure yet. It's definitely something that I'm going to be working on with some people. I know there's a Twitch streamer who's been working on Grixis, and him and I just kind of started talking a bit about it. But we'll see, and you'll see. I post videos and such. You'll see where we're getting with the Grixis decks and with the blue-black control decks, and maybe a new deck is going to come. I don't think we'll see a new archetype come from the bannings. I don't think there's actually a new archetype that can happen. But we'll see. You never know. One thing I do think is we're starting to get closer to having paper magic again, is that the Yorion decks in paper aren't going to be as good as they are on Arena. So what you might see is we might actually have 2 very different and diverse metagames from paper to Arena. Where Arena you're going to see more Bant Yorion, maybe Esper, and in paper magic you're not going to see those 80 card decks because they don't have the consistency in paper that they do online. But I don't know. We'll see. Anything can happen. The paper metagame is going to probably shift a lot. Once we start getting back into playing paper at your local FNMs and such. It is unfortunate we don't have any big paper events in the foreseeable future. The chances of us getting them in 2021, I don't think are great either. At least not in the first probably quarter. But you never know. We might get there. I'm not holding my breath for the first quarter of 2021. I think maybe middle of next year we might start getting Magic Fest style events back, but a lot of that's going to depend on where the world is at the time. But anyway, guys, with that, thank you for stopping by. Check out the channel. If you like what you see, and you want to see more content from me, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like. It would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or concerns about my opinion on the updates, or if you think that I'm wrong, please feel free to leave a comment below, letting me know. Be respectful. I will read all the comments and I will reply to as many of them as I can. But guys, that being said, I'm gonna be taking off. I'm gonna try and maybe get a draft or something in before I call it. But yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. See ya.